Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to PWR today for April 22nd, 2021. It's Thursday morning. The man they call Meathead, joined by Matthew Thomas. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning, Meathead. Since we've switched to this, new NXT one night, AEW one night, do you feel like you get to really just kind of soak it in? You just get to put all of your undivided
I don't know
attention
about
into one
soak it
product?
in, but I drink it in, man. That's
Yeah, so
what I
you're
do.
you're more of a drink it in. I'm more of a soak it in kind of guy. I'm like a sponge.
Yes, you are. Listen here, Mr. SquarePants. Let's talk about our sponsors real quick. CollarandElbowBrand.com. The promo code Linda K, K-A-Y. Get yourself 10% off over at CollarandElbowBrand.com with the latest and greatest in street fashion. And then, of course, our friends at Manscaped.com. PWR is the promo code. It saves 20% if you want to get yourself silky smooth like David, the Zohan hero. Matthew Thomas, we got a little bit of stuff to talk about here. First off, and this one I forgot to bring up to you in our little pre-tape before we go on the air. The WWE, there is talk that they will be touring right after SummerSlam, after their
Really?
residency is up over at the Yuengling Center. There is talk that they will hit the road after SummerSlam, and what is fueling this talk as well, the WWE is hoping to return to Saudi Arabia by the end of the year. Your
Oh,
thoughts on
wow.
them going international, not only traveling the States again?
I like the fact that we've got a date. Most people were speculating that SummerSlam was looking to have fans again. That's your next big pay-per-view. Good to hear that looks like to be the case, and that we've got a date. That's some exciting news.
Yeah, not only is it cool that they'll be returning to the road, but a return to Saudi Arabia means those are qualifying points in the PWR draft. You know what I'm saying there, pal?
Oh, that's right. That does count, huh?
It does
That
count.
does count. Well, that's something to factor in for next week's draft because
That's right.
you know what? My team that the name will be announced next week. They might have to start booking towards that Saudi Arabia show because that's not your every pay-per-view kind of card right there. So
Hmm.
I might have to have a Goldberg up my sleeve.
Oh boy. Good luck with that. We're counting on you. Um, let's keep on going with some news here. There is talk that do you remember AJ Mendez?
Yes, I
She
do.
wrestled by AJ Lee. AJ Lee, whose last match I believe was losing to Paige on a Monday Night Raw, and then that was it for her, right?
I would have to go check the record books. It seems like it has been so long ago.
However, AJ Mendez is still busy working. She has been signed on to be one of the screenwriters for the new sequel to 47 Ronin, the original starring Keanu Reeves. No word yet on who's going to star in that new movie, but she will be one of these screenwriters for the 47 Ronin sequel. So happy to see AJ Lee slash AJ Mendez out there working and getting some, getting stuff done. Last we checked, still married to Mr. Crazy Mariachi Punk, who just finished rapping on the Stars TV show Heels that he is starring in.
Dude, so he's like a heel Cena. He's a rapper.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to
That's
say.
freaking
Because
awesome.
he's going to put his championship belt in the freezer.
Yes. Yes, that's the thing I've always said about Punk. You can go back and you can listen to the previous episodes and like what would really push this guy over the edge is if he had a rapping gimmick.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want from CM Punk, Crazy Mariachi Punk. Speaking of music, let's segue over to the new theme song to the NXT TV show. We saw it performed on night 2 of NXT. The performer, Poppy, has the theme song now called Say Cheese. Your thoughts on when you heard it live on NXT TakeOver Night 2 and now as the theme song to NXT, the TV show?
I just gotta say, you gotta expect another live performance the next takeover, right?
I got to assume, people are going to start hitting their own suit. I really do think we're going to start seeing some summer shows, summer to fall shows. I mean, this coming fall, specifically even for the Milwaukee area, Summerfest is a go.
Yeah.
We're green and go for Summerfest in Milwaukee in the fall. Holy smokes. I mean, just week after week after week of concerts. The bands are out there. Now, granted, I know the bands are out there trying to, make some money, but I think they're saturating the market and really trying to pull the money from the, you don't want to run two SummerSlams in a row, weekend after weekend in the same city, right? You got to give them time to make a couple bucks. You don't want to run a market after somebody else just ran it. So
yeah,
it's
it's going to be really. This is going to be a really interesting next year or so, as far as wrestling, as far as concerts, to really see
comedy, movies, all of
yeah,
it.
to really see what that market looks like. It's one of those deals where the artists, you got to think. I mean, they've been a year and a half away from touring, and
Yeah.
not the major artists. The major artists, you got to think they're going to be all right, but it's the ones that are not quite the major artists that have
They've
really
been
been
tour by
struggling
tour.
during this. And even the crews with the major artists, the people
Right.
who make their living out on the road, man. So you got to think that there's going to be that initial pushback to get everybody working. And I'm very curious with all of this is what the ticket market looks like. What's the supply and demand going to be? For the last decade or so, we're in a situation where, you've got bots that are buying out tickets with on
Yeah.
sales and everything in a very
Well, I'll tell you what,
pricey
maybe I can
secondary
get those
market.
bots onto tickets and get them off my PlayStation 5. How about that?
Yep. Or I could be completely wrong, and it could be the secondary market that we're seeing with the Rockies tickets now.
Holy smokes. What was that number you shot me? $1 per
One
seat in the
dollar.
outfield?
$1 if you want to sit in the upper decks. If you want to splurge and toss some money at it and double that and spend $2, you can get you a lower level ticket in the outfield.
I literally asked the wife, I said, there's a direct flight from Appleton to Denver. I'm like, seriously, we could just fly in and fly out the same day. If we can get cheap airfare,
Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness.
honestly, what's the point? I mean, we don't need to get a car. We don't need to get car seats. We'll call an Uber or something, or we'll get
Yeah.
a shuttle, and, we'll just have the
Yeah.
shuttle take us from the airport to the ballpark.
Absolutely. When's that Brewer series?
I don't know. We'll have to look that up. But I mean, if it stays that way, I mean, I could take there is a shuttle from the airport, Denver's airport to the Coors Field, right?
Oh, I would assume so.
I would assume so too. So,
I've never flown into DIA and gone directly to a Rockies game, but stranger things would be possible.
okay. Well, I mean, that's something we got to look up. We got one more bit before we get into AEW Dynamite here. More wrestling on TV. Matthew, could you imagine? And these are your words, and I'm repeating them now on air, and you'll repeat them again. Could you imagine in 2021 that when we say we already has 5 to 6 days worth of wrestling on TV, we're getting more. MLW, Major League Wrestling, has landed an exclusive deal on Vice TV and will debut May 1st, Saturday night.
When you and I started doing this show, or when we first joined our superpowers together,
Yeah.
you had what, 2 hours of Raw on Monday, 2 hours
Yeah, it
of
wasn't even
SmackDown on
3. You might
Friday.
get a super show, but
Yeah, and then you had Impact somewhere in there, which I guess was
Thursdays.
2 at a time.
Yeah, I think it was
Um,
7 to 9 Central on Thursdays.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just absolutely uncanny to look at, um, where things are at. And what's so interesting is I don't feel like it's necessarily due to a huge spike in the industry. I think it's just you've got all of these different avenues where you can see a product, and you've got stuff like the network or Peacock now, where I think over the top has really just changed the industry.
Yeah, and it's not just that too. I mean, what really kind of spiked it a little bit even more was the fact that these national networks,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
the dirt on these promotions was basically gone. They said, you know what? Wrestling can draw viewers. I
Mhm.
think the real pop was when they moved off of USA finally and went over to the Fox network.
Yeah.
That right there, a major top 4 network put on wrestling in prime time weekly.
100%. And then, you've got the WWE's relationship with Fox, but you've also got that relationship with Peacock. So WWE is strongly ingrained with two major networks right now.
Right. ESPN accepted them a long time ago. Now Fox
Yep.
has accepted them. CBS and all these other, normal websites have wrestling recaps,
Yeah.
and they have wrestling reporters. Sports Illustrated has a wrestling division,
Yeah.
gambling on wrestling, DraftKings. That is where your money has gone. So that is why MLW is going to find its niche on Saturday nights. Along with, I mean, let's just say it out loud. WWE is on TV Monday nights, Tuesday nights, Friday nights. AEW is on TV proper, not YouTube, not
Yeah.
online. Is on TV Wednesday nights. On Thursday nights, Impact Wrestling. On Saturday nights, MLW. Sunday nights, or even Saturday nights for AEW's case, pay-per-views. And then you've got A&E
Yeah.
doing documentaries and TV shows with them. And you've got Vice TV that's also going to be doing Dark Side of the Ring, their documentary series. Holy wrestling Batman!
We're getting to a point where it's like every network or station has got to have their wrestling content. It's almost like it's kind of the mantra of get me some of that wrestling stuff. It's really kind of uncanny when you step back and you look at it, and maybe what some of this is, at least with some of the stuff that's going on with A&E, maybe it's the mainstream kind of catching up to where WWE was at 10, 15 years ago, where you've got the wrestlers actually coming out and doing these shoot interviews. Maybe the mainstream is kind of getting some of that intrigue, because 20 years ago you wouldn't have Stone Cold just point blank talking about the inner workings of the business. You wouldn't have had anybody talking about the inner workings of the business on cable TV like that. So I think that there's probably some of that interest and intrigue into not just your hardcore wrestling fan, but some of the general public.
And I'll even throw you one more too. I mean, we have to give credit where credit is due to The Rock and to John Cena. And to a lesser extent, The Miz, Edge, Randy Orton, and these technically crossover stars. Chris Jericho. Huge credit has to go to Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho has been a mainstream top Billboard rock star, right? I mean, he has crossed over.
Yeah, no, and I mean, you've got The Rock right now, who
number one action star.
Yeah, and you've never had another wrestler crossover like that. You've had
wrestlers crossover, but not like that.
Not to that extent. I mean, you've had Hogan in the Hogan.
Hogan's best movie was still a terrible movie.
You've had Hogan and Santa with muscles. You've had and not taking anything away from Piper. And They Live. Yeah, but you've never had somebody from the industry transition to another industry and become the number one star in it, and that's where The Rock is at.
Yeah, Jericho didn't do that, but Jericho is unique. Nobody has ever done that before, where Jericho was Jericho's led a charmed life, but Jericho has earned everything he's done too. He grew up with his father playing, professional hockey, and he went out and got his own thing going. He was a professional wrestler. I mean, if you watch the extended clip from the Jericho interview on the Stone Cold podcast or the Broken Skull Sessions, he got into a huge brawl with TSA in Mexico, had to have Haku start pulling people off of him. So it's not like Jericho hasn't paid his dues in that sense.
Yeah, because you haven't paid your dues until you fight TSA.
Yeah, Mexican TSA.
Yeah. Hey,
try that. Leave him alone.
When you take that Appleton to Denver flight, give that a shot, Meathead.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to do that. All right, let's talk AEW Dynamite here real quick. We're starting with the first match because I've got a segue to make here. Adam Page versus Ricky Starks. I didn't think Ricky Starks had a shot in this match. Adam Page is the number one contender, ranked number one in the men's singles. But at the end, here comes Brian Cage. Matthew, we're almost there. We're on the road to Page and Cage versus Page and Cage. Next week, Adam Page, Brian Cage.
And mass confusion ensues. One thing to make note of.
Somebody check in with JR on that to make sure he's got Page and Cage lined up.
We've been getting Page opening up a decent bit, and Page looking dominant, in the opening spot here the last several weeks, always being reminded that he's the number one contender. I want to note Page did get the victory via submission last night, which I think is an important
choke
thing.
Ankle lock combination.
Yes. And I really think he's the guy that AEW is going to make in 2021. I think he's going to close out the year with a championship. And I think we saw us getting further to that point last night.
All right. Penta El Zero Miedo taking on Trent with the question mark. That's his new name now. It's Trent. Even his ring introduction by the Dapper Yapper, Justin Roberts, versus Trent. I got to tell you a side story here real quick. I worked in a call center that had these things called whispers that come in, right? And the whisper would be something like, internet, self-install. That's a whisper telling you what type of call was coming in, right? We had one for Evansville, Indiana, that whenever they recorded it, for some reason it said Evansville. I mean, it was a question. I've used it as my team name in fantasy. I mean, it's been great. So here we got Trent.
So here's the thing with the graphics in AEW. I do like a lot of the information they share, but I've noticed recently when they're starting to put the graphics up for the match, it's loaded with information. And in a case like this too, where you've got Trent with Orange Cassidy, there's so much stuff to read. And I thought when I initially saw it, it's like, there's our mystery tag team partner.
Right.
Like, I was actually very confused by what was...
Until you saw his ring gear and he had the question mark on it too.
Well, and then it was actually, for me, it was the announcement because, when you did hear the question in the announcement, that's when I got it. But
the winner of the match is Penta El Zero Miedo. They had multiple interview segments, and I really like the pacing of these interview segments. It started off with good old JR talking to the Pinnacle. This by far, and a breakout star on the microphone, Wardlow. Wow. I thought this was an amazing interview. So a lot of MJF, but he said, come on, Ward Dog, tell us what you got.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, he looked cool, calm, and collected, and like a badass.
Yeah, you and I did not discuss this off air or anything, but I thought that was my exact takeaway from this. I mean, the MJF promo was magnificent. The intensity was great. You kind of knew what you were getting with that. I was blown away by Wardlow. Was not expecting that. And the thing of it is, just we haven't heard much of Wardlow talk. He's just not been given that role. So in a lot of cases, you assume the big guy with people out in front of him talking, that they're doing that for a reason. My goodness, I was impressed with this guy on the mic. But I want to go back to what you said earlier about the interview segments and the pacing. I thought the pacing on Dynamite last night was by far and away the best pacing I've seen from them since the start. There was not a single segment to me that did not make sense, that did not need to be there, that came across as fluff, that came across as just getting guys TV time. This felt like a top to bottom
T to B,
very specifically paced out big league wrestling show. And that's not always been the case with the product they put on every Wednesday night. This felt like this was the major leagues to me last night.
No pun intended to MLW.
AEW, oh yeah, that's right, because it's Major League Wrestling.
Yep. AEW Women's World Championship match. Hikaru Shida takes on Tay Conte. Shida retains, but because Tay Conte was the number one contender and ranks number one when she lost, here comes Britt Baker DMD. A huge graphic on the screen. Poof! There goes Tay Conte's name. Your new number one Britt Baker DMD. Perfect.
This is what they need to be doing with the rankings, and you kind of get pulled away from the rankings a little bit. Like when you had MJF during that segment, he did remind you he was undefeated. So wait a minute, why is this guy not our number one guy? So you kind of have to suspend disbelief a little bit with the rankings. But I thought it was an overall really well done match, and I give the announce team credit here. They really put over her title reign. And that's not something they've done enough of. And you know what I really liked about it too? We saw her 2021 record. And at first my thought is like, wow, she hasn't wrestled a lot. 2-0, but a champion, I think that's what you need to do with your champions. I like to see the fact that we are towards the end of April and your champion has only wrestled 3 times. I like that. I feel like that's making the title feel important, and it's
Defended
not
the belt 3 times in
yes,
singles
and it's
matches. Yeah.
not consistently putting your champion out there in non-title matches. So
Right.
they did a really good job of stressing the importance of her reign and the fact that it's like 320 days, taking the undefeated streak back to late 2019. And they did a very good job of putting the women's division and their women's champion over in this segment.
Guess who looks strong again in a promo? Miro. Miro says,
Yes,
you know what? He
yes.
needs vindication. He's tired of waiting for his opportunity. He's already had to deal with that, and he's looking for Kip Sabian.
In the last several weeks, we have gotten much more a Miro that's reminiscent of Rusev
Yeah.
than we've
The
had the whole
tank
time he's been
Miro.
in there. Yeah, the tank Miro, and I think the simple fact that he's gone back to the black hair, I think that helps the visualization.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, Shivani's in the ring, and this now proves the point that the inner circle are faces because it's Shivani going, inner circle! Great. Again, great promo by all of them. I love how, he says they must be all deaf mutes because they let MJF do all the talking. Again, you know what? This is just great work. I'm so excited to see blood and guts between these two teams.
They've done a great job of building this. They've done a great job of building a Dynamite event. And we talk about AEW having so many stables, but the 3 stables that got highlighted tonight, Pinnacle, Inner Circle, and the Elite, they all look like very important, very significant stables.
Let's go farther. I think another one actually looked good. QT Marshall and his boys.
Yes, yes.
Nick Komoroto took that chair shot and didn't flinch.
Yeah. No,
Anthony Ogogo looked
exactly
amazing.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's what they've done. I mean, this is a really good job. You've taken QT Marshall, somebody you were not giving attention to. You knew him. He was, on the perimeter. You have that heel turn. You have him bring guys in. It's one of the best executed things that I've seen them do because you've taken somebody that you really didn't have a storyline to. You give him a prominent storyline and you bring other guys in with him. They're doing a great job.
The Elite in their own personal trailer. I mean, we've got the Bucks wearing some crazy ass clothes now. We've got the Good Brothers getting crazy in there. We've got Michael on the headset. We've got their own personal cameraman. We got Kenny Omega. We got Don Callis. I loved Kenny Omega talking about Moxley and Kingston. They think they're bad. I guess they're going to be here today. I thought it was pretty good. All of a sudden, there they are out in the truck. It's Kingston and Moxley, and they rammed the trailer. Nobody in there, but yeah, all good stuff, dude. I love the little background talking. Kingston goes, "Bro, if you're gonna throw the thing in there, let me get out of the way." I mean, seriously, I was right there.
This was really well done, and it's one of the best segments in a long time featuring an automobile doing crazy stuff. Yeah, and I guess I've got Stone Cold with the Zamboni and the beer truck and Angle in the milk truck in my head because we just watched the Stone Cold thing the other night.
Yeah.
But regardless of who was in the trailer or who wasn't, that's a pickup truck going head on into a trailer. It looked really, really sharp and it looked really, really real. And the bashing of the windows and stuff, I thought it was a very well done segment. And again, the pairing of Kingston and Moxley, to me, it feels the most authentic that I've seen. Moxley, it fits right into Kingston. They are a phenomenal pairing together.
It's working. And Moxley at the end calls the Elite a bitch AF. Wow. Okay. Singles match of Christian Cage and Powerhouse Hobbs. Cage defeats Hobbs. Now, after the match, Ricky Starks comes to check on Hobbs and has to stare down with Cage. Announced for next week, we're going to have Cassidy against Penta El Zero, Chris Statlander against Penelope Ford, AEW World Tag Team Championship Eliminator match. The Young Bucks will take on the Seidel brothers. a trios tag team match. Billy Gunn, Dustin Rhodes, and Lee Johnson against Aaron Solo, Nick Comoroto, and QT Marshall. And here we are. Like I said, we're on our way, Matthew. Adam Page versus Brian Cage. And then the Inner Circle and Pinnacle's Blood and Guts parlay. Matthew, for the listening audience and for myself, because I got a Southside public school education, what is a parlay in this context?
It's the thing that you do on DraftKings, right?
Matthew, because I have a Southside education, what's a parlay?
It's like, I think it's like a bow or a curtsy, right?
I don't know about that. Parlay definition. Hold on. A cumulative series of bets? No, not that one.
It's kind of like an ice cream with fruit on it, I think.
Refers to a discussion or conference, especially one designed to end an argument or hostilities between two groups of peoples. The term can be used in both past and present tense. In present tense, the term is referred to as a parlaying. Okay?
It's funny because it sounds fancy and nice. It doesn't sound like anything that would end hostile like.
But that's kind of what Jericho has gotten with the Inner Circle. In any of the feuds that they've had, Jericho has gotten, town hall meetings, and he's gotten,
debates.
MJF
We've had debates in the past.
Yeah, more than one. MJF has kind of really had a couple shots at Jericho in his promo about how you think you're an A player, but you're hanging around with B players, but it makes you a B player because you're an A hole. I mean, it was, oh my God, it was something else. Go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
Jade Cargill, even with a solid promo too, that managers are looking to pick her up, a la Robert Roode from back in the Impact days.
Yeah, that's and again, somebody that I feel like you need to feature on a weekly basis. This is all you need. If she's not wrestling, if she's not live in ring, remind us who she is. Remind us who Miro is. They did so many things right last night. I just I don't want to keep going over it, but my goodness, it just felt like a really complete show.
Main event: Darby Allin, the champion, the TNT champion, the face of the network, taking on Jungle Boy with Luchasaurus. We got interaction between Sting and Luchasaurus. Did you ever see that coming?
No, I didn't. What I liked with this, though, is it got Sting and Luchasaurus to the back so we could put our attention on Darby Allin and Jungle Boy. And seeing Jungle Boy in this context, seeing Jungle Boy in the main event, my goodness, he has got the makings of a star. I think step one with all of this, I don't know that you necessarily need to separate it from Luchasaurus, but please, let's get the mask off of Luchasaurus, because when I'm looking at this visual and I'm trying to take Jungle Boy seriously and a main event
a green rubber mask.
Title match, and there is and the thing of it is, like, Luchasaurus in ring is very talented.
Yeah.
He's got what appears to be a good build and a good look, but it just kind of takes me out of the moment when I see this guy pretending to be a dinosaur. And I'm not even saying the Jungle Boy, like, you could probably run with calling him Jungle Boy, Jack Perry. It's kind of got a good... Well,
Jim Ross has been doing a great job of making sure that they say Jack Perry, so that way at some point they can separate it.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, the guy's got a good look to him. Yeah, he is Jack Perry. He's Luke Perry's son. I don't necessarily, you don't have to bring that up all the time, but I don't think in and of itself it is a bad thing. It is a negative thing that the company would want to shy away from. And I just, the more that I see him in a singles match in an important context, I just think they're being handcuffed a little bit by the gimmick, because what it comes down to on paper, it appears that it should be a comedy gimmick, and it's not a comedy gimmick. So we've got this kind of outlandish thing that at the same time we're supposed to take seriously. I think there are mixed messages there, and I think you got to get on a little bit more of a straight platform there.
Matthew, the only thing I needed to see here after the match, obviously Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky rush the ring and attack Allin and Jungle Boy. I needed to see Christian Cage come out here. Yeah. We've already got half of it going. If you could have Christian Cage come out and attack Ethan Page, let's get this going. What are we living for if we're not living to get Page versus Cage and Cage versus Page?
We talked about it joking, but the simple fact that
it's coming. I'm telling
Adam Page and Brian Cage, I was very confused during that segment of our show. Like, I have a hard time remembering who's who. Like, this is going to get really, really confusing.
I mean, what are we living for if not to have a Page and Cage versus Cage and Page tag team match? I know we make jokes about it, but it is on its way. I'm telling you, by the end of 21, it's going to happen.
Well, and I mean, this next week, you've got a match that is very intriguing as far as how both guys are booked. You know, Adam Page and Brian Cage. You know, Cage has been booked very, very well. You know, not quite a monster push, but close to it. Adam Page, very strong, your number one contender. This is one of those matches where you feel like both guys kind of have similar footing, and I'm very invested in the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, this match is going to be all the rage. I dare them to spray some sage, and then Metallica comes and plays Turn the Page.
Oh,
so,
see, I was hoping more for a Bob Seger version of it, a Bob Seger appearance, because we got Meatloaf some years back on WWE television. Why not give us some Bob Seger on AEW?
I don't know about that. But, I mean, if that's what you need. All right. So, again, let's talk about it. SNE Network and PWR are going to join forces, and we're going to get you the results of the PWR draft for the 2020/2021 season this Friday night after SmackDown. Tomorrow night, we will have the results of the PWR draft. I will be crowned the champion. Matthew Thomas, I will fight for the PWR name. And then coming up next week, we still not have hammered down the dates yet, but next week before the NFL draft, I believe, we are going to have the 2021/22 season draft. It's the PWR Today and SEN Network or SNE Network draft. There has been some talk, be adding a sixth team. This isn't the Premier League. We're not going to make the Super Premier League or the Super Football League like they're doing over in Europe, but we may be moving it up to 6 competitors.
So what you're saying is this is an expansion draft?
It could be. I mean, do we still draft 9 now with 6 teams? Do we draft 8? I mean, we'll have to find out. So,
my goodness, there's some exciting things on the horizon.
There are. And again, by the end of this year, mark my words, Page and Cage versus Cage and Page.
I don't doubt it.
AEW also rescheduled their Milwaukee area show. I believe it's happening in the summer now. It's going to be happening as well. So remember how we had those shows coming up real soon? It's supposed to be late summer now for AEW Dynamite. Dynamite's still thinking that they might hit the road this year. So
fantastic. And might end up being around that same time that WWE gets back on the road.
Yep, Willie Nelson style. On the road again.
That would have been so much,
on the road again.
That would have been so much more appropriate if you'd have made that joke 2 days ago on 420.
Right. Yep. Because on 420 you have to, put out the weed for Willie when he comes to visit your house every night.
Of course you do.
All right. For Willie Nelson, for Matthew Thomas, and the man they call Meathead. Hey, thanks for stopping by. So long, everyone.